And now, submitted for the approval of the Word on the Poshmark Skreeks podcast society, I bring you the story of Sally, the Poshmark seller. The fire crackled and spit as the flames danced in the darkness. The group of friends huddled around the campfire, telling stories to scare each other. "Have you heard the story about the Poshmark stalker?" one of the friends asked. The others looked at her eagerly. "No," they said in unison. "Well, it's a pretty creepy story," the friend said. "It's about a woman who bought a dress from Poshmark, but she wasn't happy with it. Instead of just returning it, she decided to stalk the woman who sold it to her." "That's crazy," one of the friends said. "Why would she do that?" "I don't know," the friend said. "Maybe she was just really obsessed with the dress. Or maybe she was crazy. Either way, it's a pretty scary story." The friend then told the others the story of the Poshmark stalker. The woman who bought the dress was named Sarah. She had been looking for a specific dress for a long time, and she finally found it on Poshmark. The dress was perfect, and Sarah was so excited to buy it. But when the dress arrived, Sarah was disappointed. The dress, it was not as nice as she thought it would be. The fabric, it was cheap, and the stitching, it was uneven. Sarah was so upset, she decided to return the dress. But when Sarah tried to return the dress, the seller refused. The seller said that Sarah had already worn the dress, and she could not return it. Sarah was furious. She couldn't believe the seller was refusing to take back the dress. Sarah decided to take matters into her own hands. She tracked down the seller's address, and she went to her house. Sarah confronted the seller, and she demanded that she take back the dress. The seller refused, and she told Sarah to leave her property. Sarah was about to leave when she had an idea. She would stalk the seller and would make her life a living hell. Sarah started by following the seller around town. She would watch her go to work. She would watch her go to the grocery store. Sarah even followed her to the park one day. The seller started to get scared. She didn't know why Sarah was following her, but she was afraid. She started to change her routine, and she tried to stay home as much as possible. But Sarah was relentless. She kept following the seller, and she kept making her life miserable. One day, the seller had enough. She went to the police, and she told them about Sarah. The police told the seller to get a restraining order, but the seller knew it wouldn't do any good. Sarah was already breaking the law by stalking her. The seller was scared, and she didn't know what to do. She thought about moving, but she didn't want to give up her home. She thought about quitting her job, but she didn't want to lose her income. The seller was at her wit's end. She didn't know how to get Sarah to stop stalking her. One night, the seller was home alone when she heard a noise outside. She went to the window and she saw Sarah standing in her yard. Sarah was staring at her and she had a crazy look in her eye. The seller was terrified. She ran to the phone and she called the police. But by the time the police arrived, Sarah was gone. The seller never saw Sarah again, but she never forgot her. She still lives in fear, and she's always looking over her shoulder. Looking over her shoulder in fear, afraid that Sarah will come back. The friends around the campfire were silent for a moment after the story was over. That's a pretty scary story, one of the friends said. Yeah, another friend said, I'm really glad I'm not a Poshmark seller. Me too, the first friend said. I'd be scared to leave my house. I'd be scared that these people have my address. The friends then sat in silence for a few more minutes, listening to the sound of the fire. Well, one of the friends finally said, I think it's time for bed. The others agreed, and they all stood up and started to head back to their tents. As they walked away, the friends could still hear the sound of the fire, and they could still see the flames dancing in the darkness. But they also knew that there was something else out there, something dark and sinister. Something that was watching. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed that story. A little cheesy, I know, but I was just trying to do something a little different here. But, so welcome to the second half of episode 3. Now, what we're actually going to talk about is, and I started it off kind of joking, but what we're going to be talking about today is safety on Poshmark. And when I look up safety on Poshmark, I see how to stay safe from scams, how to stay safe from fraudulent credit card payments, how to stay safe from a fake Louis Vuitton. But I don't see anything about how to stay safe from people having your address and that type of thing, okay? And I am going to talk about it using examples that I have seen in the forums and in real life happening to people. So this is something that actually happens. So make sure to take a look at these examples and take them to heart. And hopefully it's some food for thought about what you can do for your own safety on here. Okay, so here's the first situation that we're going to be talking about. This is an example that I found on the forums. Somebody basically just kind of threw a question out there that says, how many of you feel safe with your return address? I know it's necessary for any potential returns, but how safe do you feel? Does the majority have a P.O. box address, or are you okay with your address out there? Or do you take other precautions? And before we get started, just for disclosure, I have a P.O. box, but it's not because of any kind of safety reasons. It's because the post office here is really strange. And even though I literally live mere blocks away, like within walking distance of the post office, for some reason the mail truck doesn't come here, but it goes to houses that are like really, really far away in this town, but not mine. That's literally right there. So I'm not sure why it's set up like that. I've often questioned that the entire time I've lived here. In fact, it's pretty inconvenient because I know a lot of people can schedule USPS to come do pickups from their house and also to drop off boxes, because that can be a real pain. I live in a small town and the ladies that work at my post office are super awesome, really nice, very helpful. They just don't, it's not a big post office, and they don't have a lot of sizes of the flat rate boxes, which is what I use to ship when I sell things on Poshmark, because as we all know, those shipping boxes are free to use. I'm not going to go buy boxes We already buy so many things for our Poshmark business. Why would I buy something else I don't have to? Anyway, sorry, I'm kind of going on a rant about this. You can tell that this bothers me, but, so yeah, I have a P.O. box. But it's because of, I don't know why, okay? It just happened that way. I didn't do it deliberately. Some things it's really annoying for, like, for example, like I just mentioned, the USPS can't drop off boxes. I can't just ship my stuff. I have to haul all my freaking shipments to the post office, which is really annoying when you've got, like, a bunch of boxes and there's, like, a line of people and literally all you're doing is dropping stuff off. And, you know, there's, like, 3 people in front of you and everybody's got an issue at the post office that day. It's like, I lost the key to my P.O. box. You know, I need a new key to my P.O. box. Or, my friend said he shipped something here, but it's not here. I don't know where it is. Oh, hold on. Let me go look for it. You know, and because it's a small town, there's literally only, like, and granted, they do a good job there and they keep it moving pretty good. But, like, sometimes it's just unavoidable. And I'm like, can't we just, is there a drop-off lane? Can't there just be, because the bigger town that I have to go to that's like 10 or 15 minutes away where I have to go get certain sizes of boxes, because they don't have those USPS boxes in my small town, they just have a drop-off where it's like 24 hours a day. They've got this little lobby. You can just go and just like, you don't have to stand in a line. I mean, unless there's a line there. But usually, I mean, people are just dropping stuff off, so there's not a line for long. You know, like, nobody with issues. I mean, unless you have an issue and you can't figure out how to open it, the box, and put your packages in there. Like, my gosh, I mean, you know, it moves pretty fast. I'm like, why don't we have one of those? Anyway. But yeah, I was talking about on, and this is totally off topic. I'll get back on topic in a minute, but, on one of my painting shows, I was talking about, there's this one guy that lives around here and he sells calendars and he must make a lot of money selling these calendars. You know, it's like this old man and he, I guess he like takes pictures of his ranch and like outside and like it's like a farmhouse calendar. I don't know. Anyway. So he sells these calendars and he'll come in there and instead of printing out the labels at home, and I don't know whether he sells them through a website. Like, I've never stopped to ask him. I'm usually, whenever I see him, I'm just so glad for him to be, like, not in front of me in line, or if he is in front of me in line, I'm just so glad that he's finally done. I don't want to detain him any further. At that point, he's already wasted, like, a couple hours of my life, especially if he's standing in front of me in line. At the post office. And this is why I'm putting this kind of stuff on the podcast, because, yeah, sometimes I get off topic, and usually I have to delete these parts out. But since it's a podcast, I can keep it in here and I can complain about the old calendar guy. So anyway, yeah, he must sell a lot of calendars. I always see him in there, but he never prints out the labels. He'll go in there with like a list of addresses of everybody that bought the calendar, and he'll just be like, and he'll just sit there with the lady, and they'll do it, and he'll have a stack of them. And he'll go through his list where he literally, like, wrote down everybody's address that ordered a calendar. And then it's like they print out each label as they go down the list. It's like 1, 2, 3, check. And I'm just like, what's wrong with me? Like, God. I mean, bless his heart, you know, and we're all going to be old one day, you know, and, like, I mean, I basically am old right now, so I shouldn't be calling this old man old, but he's annoying. His calendars are annoying, and I wish he would learn to print out labels. I'm sorry if I sound like a hater, but, like, okay, the way that I'm going to put, like, basically, like, I understand if you're coming, I understand sometimes doing it, but if you're coming in there on the regular, and it's to an extent where there's a line of people, I mean, like, people will take off lunch and do all, and try to, like, run errands and do the post office, like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's super inconsiderate to inconvenience an entire town because you can't, like, take the time to learn how to do something. And that's just my viewpoint. But anyway, everybody that's already heard me talk about this is going to be like, oh, you had to stand in line behind the calendar guy again today, didn't you? Yeah, I did. Anyway, all right, so back to what we're talking about. We should do a separate thing on the post office. Like I said, I don't really have that much to complain about. A lot of people complain about USPS. I really don't have that much to complain about because my post office, like, the people that work there are so awesome. They do the best they can with the tiny space they have. And this town has grown really fast in the last couple years. And so, they do the best they can. And I don't think they give them a lot to work with. I think they're frustrated too, but they just keep it professional, they keep it moving. So they don't act like they are, but I'm pretty sure they're frustrated over there too. All right. So moving on. Now, the reason I brought up this particular post about the safety is because of this story that somebody told. I'm a full-time reseller and I've never had a problem, with Poshmark buyers having my address. But here's a story to worry you. Back when I started thrifting, I shared my Posh closet on this forum. Someone got mad about something I commented on and they found my closet and bought the cheapest thing in my closet in order to get my address. Okay, so I've been warning you guys about the forums. Okay, so this is a combination of forums and safety issues coming together into one big problem issue, okay? Luckily, she ratted herself out and I canceled the sale. So she must have posted about it on the same forum, like, ha ha ha, look what I did. Look, I'm glad she told on herself, but, some people are really bad about that. I had a friend growing up that was terrible about that, right? Because we would try to, get cookies and stuff, my mom would keep them on the top of the fridge sometimes and everything like that. I had a friend that would be like, I'm going to take this chair and I'm going to go put it by that fridge and I'm going to go grab that cookie. And then I'm going to eat it. Ooh, my mom would walk up. She'd be like, I heard you, And it's like, anyway, it's pretty funny. But it worked out in this case for sure. Let's see. Luckily, she ratted herself out and I canceled the sale. It turned out she had a lot of problems. I ended up feeling bad for her. But this is why I now use anonymous names on the forums, because when I wasn't, a simple comment angered a crazy person and they were able to almost get my address. Anyway, so that's kind of crazy. That's definitely a thing on here. And I've warned you guys about the forums. I've warned you, and I've warned you. That's why I don't say anything on there. And when I go on there, either I have the wrong name or I have an anonymous name because nobody's trying to deal with all that. I have a couple of people in the groups that follow me here that are super cool. And they know who I am. I know who they are. They're cool. But yeah, in general, that's a mess. I do that to stay informed and I like to be informed about what's going on in the community. And I do sell on a lot of the platforms, but Poshmark is my favorite. I feel like it's more fair to the seller. I like the culture of Poshmark. All my friends were on Poshmark, and if all my friends jumped off a bridge, I would jump off a bridge too. I don't know. I just like it better. So that's why I'm on there. But yeah. So yeah, this is not good. But yeah, a lot of people, I'm looking at the responses here. A lot of people are not feeling comfortable with it. And can you blame them? And then there's also a piece of advice that somebody else gave here. And then it looks like, oh my gosh, it looks like 1 or 2 people like actually ended up closing their closets over the safety issues. And that's something that I've heard quite a bit of. And so this is the one thing. And like I just said, obviously I love Poshmark. Poshmark is my favorite. But the best piece of advice that I could give Poshmark as a brand would be you need to do some moderation. And it's not just me that's saying this. I've read this in so many places online. Like, nothing is being moderated, okay? The posts aren't being moderated. The shows aren't being moderated. A lot of the rules on here aren't being moderated. Like, actually, none of the rules are really being moderated. And I'm not like a big rule person, you know? And I hate to even almost say that out loud because woo, anarchy! No, I'm just kidding. But but it's to a point where I think it's starting to hurt the brand, hurt the platform, and it's starting to hurt those of us sellers on there that are trying to be honest and be professional with people, and I feel like it hurts us all, so... And not only that, this is a big safety issue. This is a huge safety issue. And like I said, I've searched and searched. I have yet to where anybody has a good solution for this. I guess that's because there is none. That's not comforting. Most people that are really concerned about it are just like, yeah, I just delete my closet. So not only, okay, so these are the reasons that you would have to be concerned for your safety and for your address. Number 1. All right, this is just Joe Schmo, all right? You're just going about your business, your little resale closet Poshmark business. You're taking measurements, you're posting things for sale. Oh, yikes, sorry. You're doing everything you need to do, okay? You're just going about your little business, all right? And say you're doing a posh show, okay? And somebody comes on there and somebody says, you know, that shirt that you're holding up would look so much better if it were red. And you're like, oh, yeah, I guess, but I love the color blue and, you know, this is the only color I have. And all of a sudden this person is offended. I mean, insert whatever... but it literally can be just as ridiculous as that. That's why I'm trying to make these safety videos. But back to what I was saying as far as the possible scenarios that could occur here. Okay, so number 1, you could upset somebody. Say you're in the Poshmark forums. You could upset somebody in the forums, and somebody in the forums could find your closet, and basically just what I read as an example, that could happen. Number 2, you could basically do something on a show. Like I said, you just hold up a shirt and somebody doesn't like it, or somebody doesn't like you, or somebody doesn't like something in the background of your house, and they post about you on the forums, and they screenshot your show, they put it on the forums, and then all of a sudden, you know, people are reporting your closet and that type of thing. Because apparently that's an issue too. And I didn't know about any of this. That's why I'm passing this on for those of you that don't go on there, which, I mean, I think it's good to be on there as far as keeping updated as far as information. But I try not to say much on there just because of these exact situations. Okay, so there's a lot of different scenarios that I've just described that could be one where somebody gets mad and either wants to report your closet to Poshmark and try to get your closet shut down, or they want to get your address and do God knows what with it. And that's why I always tell people not to have young children as assistants in their shows. I mean, it's really cute, and I'm sure it helps with sales, and a lot of people are full-time mothers, and there's, like, your kids are with you. There's nothing that you can do because you don't pay a babysitter, and I get that, and I feel that. It just still doesn't, like, there's still a safety element that's at play here, you know, that you need to be aware of. And just know that if you're going to do that, like, people are weird. There's a lot of sick people in the world right now. There's a lot of mentally ill people right now in the world that are just walking around. And I hate to, you know, to be like morbid or be like a doomsday person, but you just need to take certain precautions. Things are different these days, and you need to take precautions. And especially as a reseller, I feel like there's all kinds of stuff that's gone on that, you know, hasn't really been talked about. And like I said, I wish there was a solution to it. But really, I guess having a P.O. box is one of the best things that you can do. Somebody did, there are a couple things that people suggested that I did want to give you guys, because I hate to bring something up and not offer any solutions. I feel like that's not helpful at all. So, like I said, there's no obvious solutions. There's some solutions that aren't exactly part of what you're supposed to do. For example, because of the Inform Act, which is something that's recently gone into effect, these selling platforms have to make available seller contact information. So if somebody buys something from you on eBay or Poshmark, if you are considered what is a high volume seller, which I think is anybody that sells over 2,000 items or $5,000, I forget what it is. Anyway, there's certain information they have, which they already collect a lot of that information from us anyway. But now it has to be shared with the consumer. So contact information, things like addresses, phone numbers, names, certain things have to be shared now. So, and each platform, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to be dealing with that. But so that's kind of a thing too. So there's a lot of different things that go into play here. But definitely as a seller, you should protect yourself. I see why people have concerns about this. I definitely would have a concern about it. But like I said, I do have some suggestions. They're just not necessarily like above the board necessarily, because you are supposed to have a return address on these things, but a lot of people do scratch out the addresses on their package. They'll print the label out and then they'll scratch it out. There's some people that you can put in like a temporary address or a work address or something else. So there's some way that you can be shipping it from somewhere else. Some people will do that. Some people, it looks like they've put the Poshmark headquarters address in for their home address. So, I mean, if you, and especially somebody that's had a stalking situation or maybe some kind of DV situation, somebody that has a reason to be concerned about their safety, this would be something that would be even more of an issue. So you just need to be careful, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And hopefully Poshmark will offer some kind of good solution. Like I said, it's going to be hard with the Inform Act coming into play here, because a lot of this stuff they're required by law to have available for consumers. So but yeah, I hope this wasn't too much of a fear-mongering video. That's not really what I'm trying to do. I don't want to discourage anybody. I definitely think that as long as you're taking certain precautions, you can be safe on here. And I definitely still believe in doing this as a either a side hustle, full-time, whatever you want to do it as. So don't let it discourage you. I do realize that there's some people that have not had bad experiences on the internet yet, that haven't had their information posted and everything like that. I myself have gone through that a couple times. I'm kind of an expert. So a lot of people I know, all you have to do is basically just disagree with somebody over the slightest thing these days, and they're going to get pissed off and post all your stuff. I mean, it's just the toxic climate that we live in, unfortunately, these days. So I just want all you guys to stay safe, all my PFFs to stay safe, and just make sure that you're just thinking about it, because like I said, this is something that maybe you haven't thought about before, and hopefully you'll give it some thought now. So anyway, it's Wednesday. We still got some of the week left. It's been a crazy couple weeks here. So, and I can't even believe that we're in August. I don't feel like we had a summer. And I guess the reason I feel like that is because, first of all, summer started so late here. It started so late here. I think the last time it snowed, or maybe it wasn't snow, but it was like a freeze, was the 1st of June. So I feel like we didn't even really get started. And then I also feel like half of the summer it's been raining every day. So I haven't really been able to be outside or do anything. And now there's grasshoppers everywhere. Anyway. It's always something, right? But yeah, that's what I'm doing today. I got my gardening stuff on and my painting shirt. You can tell this is one of my painting shirts, but I'm harvesting squash. So I'm doing some weeding today. I don't know if anybody else does gardening, but if anybody needs some yellow squash or zucchini recipes, I've got a lot, because that's usually what I have every year. That's like the one thing the grasshoppers can't totally tear up, because like the leaves and it's like harder. They can't just chew it up. But anyway, I'm kind of babbling now, but I just wanted to make sure to get some real length in here. I know I've not been online as much this last week. Oh my gosh, it's been a crazy week. So just wanted to check in with everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's getting some good sales. And also look for sales to pick up, because we're getting in the back to school fall season. So this is always a good time. We're going to start heading into the holidays. We got lots of fun stuff coming up. So it's going to be a really good time, guys. Anyway, you guys enjoy your day. Thank you so much for joining me.